If I just listen to him, I won't end up with that problem. Oh, oh. If I focus a little and start rereading the Bible, don't wanna end up in it. I'm tired of messing with it. I need some help at winning. Not going round in circles. Not going round. Not repeating the cycle. Said I'm not repeating, no. Not going round in circles. I ain't got time for no circles. Not repeating the cycle. No, no, no. Yeah. Gotta move forward, come let's go. Much more to the world you show. Many people, you will be. It's time for you to be really free. Can't give up and I won't let go. Come real far, go get some more. Who gonna stop this? Get me out. Run to the church to scream it out. Don't wanna end up in it. I'm tired of messing with it. I need some help at winning. Not going round in circles. Not going round. Not repeating the cycle. Said I'm not repeating, no. Not going round in circles. I ain't got time for no circles. Not repeating the cycle. No, no, no. Yeah. Gotta move forward, come let's go. Much more to the world you show. Many people you will be. Not going round in circles. Said I'm not going round. Not repeating the cycle. Not going round in circles. No. Not repeating the cycle. No, 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 no. Yeah. Gotta move forward, come let's go. Much more to the world you show. Much more. Many people you will be. It's time for you to be really free. Gotta move forward, come let's go. Much more to the world you show. Many people you will be. It's time for you to be really free. Gotta move forward, come let's go. Let's move on. Much more to the world you show. No more circles. Many people you will be. It's time for you to be really free. Everything posted or discussed on this platform has already been discussed somewhere else. And if you have a problem with being discussed on this platform, then keep your privacies out of public during cases. Treat folk right, keep your hoes happy, and do wrong right, and you won't end up on this here show. But on tonight, we're interviewing Bishop Bernard Jordan. But I might ask him something that's done happened in the world, so I had to do this disclaimer. All right, let's go. All right, you are locked into LarryReidLive. I'm so sorry that I'm a whole almost 2 hours late because we were having difficulties. And as a result, Bishop Bernard Jordan will be up here by phone. But we will still be able to have a good time and having the conversation. And we're going to actually go pretty quick because he's supposed to be on his line, that he's in a 24-hour prayer, teaching, prophecy line while Cora is here wreaking havoc. And so he's been doing that. So we don't want to keep him away from that because the time has got away from us. But on tonight, I have Bishop Prophet Bernard Jordan on. And if you have been an
LRL follower, then you know the last time we interviewed him was March the 6th, and there were so many things that was disclosed when he was on the show. A lot of those things that he talked about from his book, Written Judgments, written in the 80s and in the 90s. It was updated here, and there. I think the last time it was updated was in the 90s. And in that book, so many things have happened in our world, has unfolded. And one of the things that he talked about in the book, aside from the other great, wonderful things, he talked about a time that he saw in the spirit that was coming in the future that will affect the world and the church. And one of the things that he said, and the language is so key because he mentioned curfews, quarantines, border control from state to state. And these are so specific to what we are experiencing now. Even my parents are telling me I have never seen an America like this. My grandma, 90-something years old, never seen an America like this. And this is not just happening in America, but it's happening round about the world. And we have other great minds and people who seem to be touched by another world or otherworldly who have made certain statements. And as I say, they're prophets, but prophets of God. It's a whole different ball game. These are people that have been touched by another world who are under the auspices of the Holy Ghost, of the Holy Spirit, the rulership of God's Spirit. And so they speak what God showed them. Sometimes it's coded and ambiguous, and it has to be dissected and decoded by the people that actually speak the prophecies. And so we have the author of Written Judgments that is here on the show tonight. And so we're going to get right into the conversation. There will be no commercials on this show tonight. We're only going to sit and talk with Bernard Jordan for the time that we have him here. And we're also going to be giving you some updates in the conversation concerning the coronavirus. And for those of you that are listening to me right now, I want to let you know that the coronavirus here in the U.S., 163,479 people have been infected with this virus. And we have now around 3,100 people who have died. And I believe that we're going to see millions of people here in America that will test positive for the COVID-19, the coronavirus. That's what I believe. And I'm not saying this is a prediction or a thus saith the Lord or I had a premonition, but I did say to you guys that this was going to be a pandemic, and it was airborne and aerosol. And now we're seeing almost 30 days later, 34 days later, it's a pandemic. Oh, it's airborne. It's aerosol. Yeah, it is. I have to be careful to get sick and coughing, dry coughing. Well, y'all should have told us that then. And I done told y'all not to, don't be listening to what that president up there. Now, he said today, now I have been saying on the show that he up there talking, trying to make sure everybody stay calm and there don't be no panic across the divided states of America. But today he finally explained himself. He said, I'm trying to make sure that everybody stays calm. Everybody stays calm. I don't know why he hold his lips like that. You see him hold his lips like that, Nancy? Yeah. He said, everybody, make sure everybody stays calm about the China virus. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I do it neither. So basically, he up there lying. I just want everybody to understand and be clear. The Butane, the president, businessman, and entertainer, he is sitting on TV and telling a lie, but he's lying with a good purpose in his heart. The purpose in his heart is make sure everybody stay calm as he tried to get America back to her money. Now, he said that the number one focus is people. And number two is the money. And he said, it's so funny how the brain works, because the first thing he said, my second objective is money. That really reveals it's your first objective. The law first mentions. And then he said, my first objective is people. But anyway, so we have your most trusted name in prophecy, who just happens to be as a 2018 My Mentor. The Honorable, the great, gracious Ambassador, Archbishop, and everything else, Master Prophet, E. Bernard Jordan. He's on the line. Thank you so much, Bishop Jordan, for agreeing to come on the line.
Bless you, Larry, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing really, really well. I wish I can see your face, but there's a really nice picture just sitting up here of you. It's almost like you're sitting right here.
Well, I haven't been to a barber in about 3 weeks.
Oh, it's good we got this picture up here then. We don't want to see that. Okay, Bishop, since the last time, we're going to get right in because we know you got to go on your line. 24-hour prayer. Put the flyer up while we're talking about 24-hour prayers going on. And Bishop gets on the line every single day with what God is putting in his heart, revealing unto him. The calling number is 515-604-9266. Y'all write this down, screenshot it, because he's not going to be up here long, but he's going to be right on this line. They're already on the line right now, but he's going to be a little bit late because of our technical difficulties. And then at midnight, I think every night there's prayer. So 515-604-9266. All right, Bishop, last time you came, folk were running their mouth because of things that we had talked about. They were killing me in the comment section days prior. I talked about pandemic. You came on that Monday and you began to go through your book, Written Judgments. And you said, and I quote, that it's going to get worse. You also told us that we need to begin to practice and prepare ourselves to be shut down in the next week. That's what you said. And you also said to us that we are going to begin to see where, when we come to the borders, you read it out of the book, when we come to the borders, that in the spirit. Oh, let me ask you this. While I'm reviewing what you said last week, I wanted to know this, because when you are prophesying and like the writing in this book, are you hearing God speak it to you like through your inner ear? Or are you actually like John was on the island of Patmos when he was writing Revelations? Were you looking and peering in the spirit and you were seeing these things form and you had to write down what you saw? How was this communicated to you?
I am more of an auditory prophet.
Okay.
I hear it first. I believe there's 3 dimensions of the prophetic. One is either auditory, Sentiel, which means a feeling prophet, or visual prophet. And so sometimes people see, when I hear it, then my mind forms a picture around it, and I try to find a world in how I can translate it. So when I was writing the Written Judgment, and in the beginning in 1988, there was things I was saying in 88 that technology is not where it is today. And then there was things I was saying in the early 90s when we prophesied. There was no world of it. So when the prophet prophesies, it's important that we understand the context that they're prophesying in, and they're speaking into a world that don't yet exist. For instance, I had a prophet call me today and says, I know the Written Judgments. Says, did you actually call out the name Corona in the book? I said, in this case, no. I said to them, I prophesy like the prophets in the Old Testament. I said, show me one prophet that called out the name Jesus.
He said, name shall be
and
called.
And he got it.
Yeah, and explained. Yeah, got it.
Exactly. The name shall be called Emmanuel, but none of us worship Emmanuel unless we put it in a song. But his name shall, but the people of Israel understood, those that was wise, that this is the Messiah, and the prophets prophesied. So we know in part and we prophesy in part.
But you did say virus over and over.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, all over and over.
So can I read one of the prophetic words out of the book when it comes down to the virus?
Please.
Do you want to start there, Larry?
Please.
Well, this word was written in Written Judgments, and you can get the book at at ZoeMinistries.com. That's ZOE Ministries.com, and download the book, and you get all 4 volumes in one. This was written in Written Judgments, Volume 3, this prophecy here I'm going to read, and it was written in 1996 in the same book that I prophesied about the first black president. And it said, greater than the bubonic plague. And then I heard the voice of wisdom cry out, prepare, prepare, prepare. And the earth began to open up and swallow an entire nation with a terrible calamity. This is the hour that plagues shall consume a vast number of people in Europe. These plagues shall overrun their boundaries and shall sweep the earth with a terror and vengeance that shall be greater than the bubonic plague, saith the Lord. The hour is swiftly approaching that viruses will appear, one after the other, that will baffle and mock the efforts of the medical industry. I will cause those nations that have created diseases for the purpose of evil to taste of their own bitter medicine. And for those of you that have the written judgments, that was on page 46 in volume 3. And the prophecy goes on.
But Bishop, I want to stop you. I want to stop there because one thing I asked you last week, I said, well, Bishop, because this is before, that wasn't last week, at the beginning of the month. Because I said, Bishop, is this the disease that you're talking about in the book, or is this the beginning? No, I said, is this the it, or this is the beginning of the it? And your answer was, this is the beginning of the it. And then I began to ask you, I said, because of that phrase, the one you just read there, I said, could it be that we're looking at a disease that possibly was developed but leaked out? Is that possible?
That's very possible. But at this point, it doesn't matter because the plague is here.
Yeah, I got you.
Whether it was manufactured or whether it came from wherever, it doesn't matter. We're now faced in this moment.
Right. Gotcha.
And so we're getting ready to see something that I watch the news like anyone else, but with the company of prophets and myself, we're in a time of fasting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fasting. I'm on an intermittent fast, and I will be on the fast until this pandemic is over, and we will be in 24-hour prayer on our 24-hour conference call line that people need to call in to get hope. People need to call in to get wisdom and instruction, and because this thing is going to escalate. I woke up the other morning, Larry, and I'm prophesying now, and the Lord said, and for those of you listening, you need to call people and tune in, because we rarely get to hear prophet speaks to us that gives direction to people. So you need to tell people just to call in and listen with an open mind. And if I be a prophet of God, my word won't fall to the ground. The Lord says tears will fill every American eyes. And I woke up and I started praying in the Holy Ghost. And then the Lord spoke to me further. He says, and then Americans will cry until they can cry no more. My eyes went towards the Jacob Javits Center, and I began to see I saw the Jacob Javits Center, and I saw nothing but a morgue. But all of a sudden, they said they're going to make it a hospital. I got on our conference call, and I shared them. In Written Judgments, Volume 3, the last prophecy in Written Judgments, Volume 3 in 1996, on page 84 was this: A period, C period, E period. On page 84, it says this: 3 letters appeared in the air above my head. A, ... C, ... E, ... And the Lord says, when you see these letters come out of a government program, know that the time is near. Great shall be the sound of weeping and wailing, and many will contemplate ending their lives by suicide. And I had someone call me from the military that got a hold of the book, and they said ACE, ACE, and they couldn't. They says it wouldn't lead them, and then they says, Bishop Jordan, this is what the Lord said. I said, what? He says, what is this ACE, ACE? They said it's the Army Corps of Engineers. We are the Army Corps of Engineers that are taking hospitals to the West Coast shore, and they have now come into New York. We are getting ready to see. I know they says if we can get to 100 to 200,000, but I saw millions of bodies.
I agree with that.
And I am in prayer, Larry, because the church has not taken this plague seriously. They're playing with God, and is going to provoke the wrath of God in a way that I cannot explain. If I was to give people a verse of scripture, I wish I had my Bible open, but I believe it's in Isaiah 26 and verse number 20. And even right now, while I'm saying this, I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed right now, because the people of God needs to know it is time to go into your houses like the Passover. It's time to be shut in the door. And if you don't begin to heed this warning, we are already, I told you when we were here last time, I saw the church closed for a month of Sundays.
You said that.
Larry, it's upon us. But the people of God are going to learn a heavy lesson, those that gather. So it says in Isaiah 26 and verse 20, come, my people, enter thou into the chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself, as it were, not forever, but for a moment, until the indignation be past. There is an indignation, there is the wrath of God that is passing, and it's taking people out. Now, while I woke up in a dream, the Lord spoke and says, death is on the keyboards. And I said, the keyboards? He said there's going to be a sweeping where you're going to see major musicians wiped out. And when I looked up, it's like I saw the keys playing and the viruses sitting on the keys. There is something happening where people have not been able to discern the time that we are in. In Ecclesiastes 3, in verse 5, and I'll say this because there's those that are watching, and then there's those that are discerning, and then there'll be those that are critics, and it is okay, because a prophet speaks things of a world that don't exist, but that is coming into existence. In Ecclesiastes 3 and 5, it says, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. Here's the word of the Lord. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. This is the hour of the reframing. And many people are missing their hour, and it's going to cost many their lives. Churches that are still open is going to be under the judgment and the wrath of God. Watch my word.
Jesus, damn. And I just want to say this for those that are watching. This is the reason why I wanted Bishop on, because I want a prophet of God. There are many prophets, many voices speaking, but a prophet of God says what is the heart and desire of God. And I told y'all, and I was speaking about inspiration during my job, but I said this is a pandemic. It's going to get bad, and it's airborne before the news said it, and the news was just really lying to us. But now they're starting to tell us more of the truth. Then we had Bishop on March the 6th, and he foretold these things. First of all, it was written in the 80s and the 90s. But aside from that, on that show, he began to prophesy like he did now, and he began to tell us and get us clarity about what was to come. And these things have already happened. And even I looked in your book today, Bishop, and in your book, you talked about how pastors were going to be carried away to prison because of their personal convictions. And that just happened today, the same day that I decided to have you on the show with Pastor Howard Brown out of Florida, where the sheriff demanded that he be arrested because he's putting people in danger. What do you have to say about that, Bishop?
It's sad. In 2019, I went to a presiding bishop and told him, I says, the Lord showed me that 2020 is going to be the year that God is going to show us who will not be leading us in the future. I said in 2020, mantles are about to be pulled. Now, hear this. We should not be waiting for the government to tell us that it is unsafe to go outdoors. We should be telling the government in November, shut the doors and shut the industries, for thus saith the Lord, the indignation of God is getting ready to walk the earth.
Yeah, that's what we saw in the Bible. Yeah.
What happened is church leaders are waiting for the government to tell them when to shut down. That's an abomination. The prophets are supposed to be pointing the governments into the direction. And we have got leaders that are running like Jim Jones and running their people into the slaughterhouse. We are now, if you have leaders, preachers, prophets that are still doing services in the month of March, even in February, we need to ask the question, where was your discernment and your ear? Because you should have been the first ones to go in and shut the door. That's including me.
Wait.
And when we should not be taking our houses should have been already closed. You know, it should have been on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. We did not understand 2 months ago believers stopped showing up to work and they were shutting in their houses and praying, and they should have been laughing at us like they did Noah. And then all of a sudden, when this indignation came, they would have said, the church people and those that are believers are not getting the coronavirus and dying. But what is happening? We're having bishops die, prophets die, leaders die. Jeez. Why is that? Because we did not discern the time it was, and we did not come in and shut the door.
Wow.
So, can I read that prophecy?
Please.
In written judgments. And And when I began to look here at this prophecy, this stuff, it says here, I will cause a radical people to emerge in the church. For this will be the hour that the church will be persecuted. You will see church leaders placed in prison for convictions that will cause great turmoil in the nation, saith the Lord. The mayor of my city, New York City, it hit the Washington Post, Bill de Blasio.
Yeah.
New York City churches caught holding service during coronavirus may be permanently closed.
Yeah, let me read it. I just posted. I'm gonna read it. Let me read it to we just posted it just minutes ago. It says, NC Mayor Bill de Blasio says, I want to say to all those who are preparing the potential of religious services this weekend, if you go to your synagogue, if you go to your church and attempt to hold services after being told so often not to, our enforcement agents will have no choice but to shut down those services. I don't say that with any joy. It's the last thing I would like to do because I understand how important people's faith are to them. And we need our faith in this time of crisis, but we do not need gatherings that will endanger people. No faith tradition endorses anything that endangers the members of that faith. Very interesting to me because in light of what you just said, prophetically, it aligns with the text, with this placement of prophets and prophetic people. We're supposed to be in front of what comes into the land. And we're supposed to be on the bullhorn saying, this is the word of the Lord. A famine is coming, and you need to store up these years. For when the famine comes, you'll be able to eat from what you're stored up. That's what prophets did in the Bible. And so you're showing us how the church, in the midst of what we have been doing, we have been prayerless, out of step with the heart of God. You say, even myself, that we should have. I mean, so it's not like you coming up here with some old with grand spirit and saying, I am the master prophet. No, you're saying we have sinned. We're out of order. Now let's go in the way of the Lord.
Yes. When we had our last service on the 15th, I pulled my church together. I got my members together. I assigned everyone to a leader. No one had more than 10 to be responsible to. And we gave them instruction. We had two nurses there. We had a doctor and a nurse come to speak to them about this, the coronavirus. I said to them, this is going to be a pandemic. It's going to be worldwide. 40 to 70%, this is what they're not telling you in the news, 40 to 70% of the world is going to get this. There's going to be millions of lives wiped out, and they will die quickly and suddenly. There was a former adjutant of mine. I had to came and passed. This family got in touch with me, and they called me and they said, this person came back from Miami coughing. They told them to go to the doctor. On Tuesday, they went to the gym. They says, you need to go to the doctor. On Wednesday, they went to the gym. On Thursday, they had a headache. Friday or so, they put him in the hospital. As soon as he was put in the bed, he went into a coma and never got up. They asked me to come there to commit the body. I never thought I would see the day that the funeral person would tell me, Bishop Jordan, you don't need to be in the midst of this. And I said, what's the matter? They says, we want you to commit the body through the telephone. Listen, saints, there will be bishops and leaders that will leave out of here in this season that we won't get to celebrate the glory of their exit because of the season that we're in. We're talking about loved ones that are going to leave here that we're not going to be able to say goodbye to. And we're seeing that now. And so, what is the word of the Lord? The word of the Lord for the believers. Now, y'all not going to like this word, but you usually don't like words that prophets give you anyway.
True prophets, prophet of God.
We have true prophets. We need to be praying and calling out every day the president's name before the Lord, the vice president's name, and your governors. And start with your state representatives. Hear me, church. The Bible commands us that we are to pray for men everywhere, pray for kings and leaders, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life. Right now, our lives are not quiet and peaceable because we've been playing politics, but we have not been playing prayer. Our president, right? Now, hear me. And the Lord rebuked me in this thing because I was going around calling them 45, and the Lord says that's an office. You as a prophet cannot disrespect the office regardless of what personality get in it. And it's a call to evangelicals that wouldn't say President Obama, they were just saying Obama. And it's a call to black church leaders that just going around saying 45. You both have sinned. And so we have sinned and have fallen short. Our nation need our prayers. Do I need to read the prophecy that was written in this book about us going from state to state and need a passport? My head spinned around the other day when they said they were in New York and the National Guards was there and they're looking for New York license plates. I said, what in the heck is going on here? And the prophecy began to unfold that was written in here in the written judgments. And, oh my God.
It's interesting to me that today also, now you have all these states, Illinois, California, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Virginia, Maryland, who are now going into a stay at home, and even Virginia done it for 70 days. And I want everybody to pay attention, and I hope you watched the last time on the 6th, because so much has happened since then. And now we're hearing now, and this is a very important time. For those of you that do not know, the calendar that we go by here in America is the Gregorian calendar, but the original calendar of the Lord, this puts us at the beginning of the year. So we're going into the beginning of the year, and I think tonight you are literally hearing the word of the Lord for the rest of your year, and that you really need to listen to what is being said. And really, God is pushing us into the house to shut up with him, to recommit ourselves, to return back to prayer and to our purpose, to rediscover, and maybe even put some things back into place. But this is the time to shut away with God on a personal level. Whatever it is that you do, whether you're an engineer, you were an actor, this is everybody. You worked in government, but as a person, a change agent, God's hand person in these different industries, that you are now being called to a place to prepare for what is ahead. And this is happening in 2020, the year of vision. And our vision and focus has been off. So this corona, what I've been calling Cora, really is on some level of an assignment to where we are really getting rid of all of the things that have been in our eye and our ear gate, and possibly even in our appetite, that really is keeping us from being who we're supposed to be in this world and how we're supposed to show up. So I think maybe that this is a time to work through some things in relationships, to get out of certain energies, to get out of certain spaces, and to really get back to the reason why you were born, and prepare to be a light in the future. Called the world after this is going to need lights everywhere. What you have to say about that, Bishop?
Listen, you are so right on. In the written judgments, it says it's in written judgments, volume number 3. It says Then I began to travel the landscape, and I found myself detained at checkpoints. I was shocked when I was detained at the gate from one state to the next. I cried, Lord, how could this happen in a country that was known for its freedom? How can these things happen in the land of the free and the home of the brave? And the Lord spoke quite soberly and said, this will be the hour that you will witness the institution of travel permits that will grant individuals license to travel from one state to the next. Many shall be perplexed, yet this is a judgment that shall be rendered upon a nation built on lies. Listen.
And every lying system. Every system in our world has been hit. I don't even know if I got too many words, and y'all don't be missing with words. But this is so clear to me as a follower of Jesus Christ that's in entertainment. It is very clear to me that this is the moment. 2020 is the year to really get into your purpose and into relationship with the self and with God in a way that you never have before, and really pull yourself to the side. What's the Isaiah 26:20 he read? Go into your house, shut up, sit down, lock your door, smear that blood over the doorpost until the indignation passes over. Bishop.
Prophet Larry, if I could say this, and I know people have problem with your platform, but they also have problem with Jesus. Hear me. We are in a season that we're about to go into Passover. We got plagues sweeping around the earth, right?
Yeah.
And at one point, we were like dancing and rejoicing and saying the coronavirus is not hitting Africa.
Yeah.
Africa is spared. Mm-hmm. This is not a black people plague. Black people started running out in the street. White people are getting it. Black people are not getting it. This was some of the foolishness that was happening. And it was something nice to say, wow, this is good. This is, thank God, we finally get a break. This is not our plague. And then all of a sudden, suddenly, we started seeing it impacting our communities. I mean, I know several people that have died already, right? I have two people in my church that are elders that tested positive, right? Thank God I stopped church when I did. Because what we do as a community, as black people, is we don't come and talk about when a condition is going on, so we just fight and work it out. And, you know, honey, you go on to church for me. And now they asymptomatic and passing it along. There are churches that there's 10s, 20s, 30s of people testing positive. But let me get back to this. You have this plague going on. And then all of a sudden, you have this locust thing sweeping through Africa.
Yeah, at the same time.
At the same time, can you not see that God is moving? 2020, hear the word of the Lord, is going to show us who is not leading us. And hear me, if you have any leader that is leading you to come out of your doors when God says go in and shut the doors, you are going to have to be discerning as to, Lord, what are you saying for me and my house to do? It's time to come in, Larry. I'm telling you. And shut the door. Yeah,
and that doesn't that don't mean that your preacher, your prophet, your pastor is demonic, diabolical, or false. It's just a miss. Master Prophet E. Bernard, Archbishop, Ambassador, Jesus' best friend, said he rebuked himself right here live. But now that we know that our response should mirror the children of Israel, at that time of the Passover, and we should go and shut in, because God is passing through Goshen too. But we have a directive to go in and shut the door. He didn't just go in Egypt, but he went through Egypt too. He went through Goshen too, where we were at. But the directive will put the blood up over the thing, go in there, sit down, lock the door, and just watch you some Netflix and eat. If God tell you to fast, no, Bishop, God telling you to fast, I don't feel that. I don't feel that part. I feel like I'm supposed to eat a little bit less than normal. That'd be my consecration. But
But you know what? Those that I've talked to that had that COVID, they said for some reason their appetite goes.
Oh, we've looked into that in the written judgments. Wasn't that in there? About not having the taste for the food. That's in the written judgment now. That is in there.
Yeah, so let me read the thing about curfew, because this is where America is at right now, and this is a little scary.
Okay.
It says, it will be a day when I will cause the feather of the eagle to fall, and the eagle will begin to come to nothing economically. The dragon shall laugh and mock, but it will be a day of penance for her, saith the Lord. For in the day that she exploited others, the lot will now come to this generation who will bear the sins of the forefathers who committed these abominations. The eagle shall weep and bow her knees in supplications and prayer and acknowledge me as Lord. Now listen to this. The hour will come when this country lights will go out at certain times. Church, listen, we're going into martial law. You might as well embrace yourself. Curfews will visit this nation. Now listen, and a leader will be in place who will be a despot and will show no mercy, saith the Lord. Now listen to this. It will be a time when you will see the bear and the eagle join forces.
That's Russia.
This is Russia and America.
But this you're talking about the dragon.
And
the dragon is Asia.
Exactly. The dragon shall laugh and mock. This is what the word of the Lord said. This was written in 1988.
Bishop.
And it said this. And the
Do you know? I'm gonna tell you why this goes. LRLers day ones know this. I kept having the vision. No, I need to be careful how I say this, Nico. Wait. I kept having the vision, and if you're in the chat, you can verify that America should not trust Asia. And I think I called out China particularly. This is 2011, just moved from New York. I jumped up out the bed screaming this to the top of my lungs. Then I also kept saying, martial law is coming. And my sidekicks would laugh at me because it's coming. I kept saying this. You are blowing my mind. And this was written when?
1988. Now watch this, Larry. And did we just get through a whole impeachment process around some of this? It will be a time when you shall see the bear and the eagle join forces, and a new form of government will evolve in the land. Men will wonder how this came about. Watch this. The primary reason is because you dismissed me out of the land and put me out of their classroom. And I will cause a radical people to emerge in the church, and this is the hour that the church will be persecuted. Now, guess what we're going to get ready to go into? Pastors are not going to stop having services.
Okay.
Let me give you the prophetic word. They're not going to stop. A matter of fact, there's a spirit that is going to run through the earth and is going to begin to excite the radicals. Because the word of the Lord must be fulfilled. Yeah. And the Lord said it is so. Yeah. God has spoken it, and it cannot be otherwise. There's going to be radicals that are going to have service anywhere, based on their own convictions, and it's going to start a persecution upon the church, and the church is going to lose its freedom in the next tomorrow.
And we've all
Because the
go ahead.
spread of this virus, hear the word of the Lord. When I woke up last week, he says the spread of this revival will take place by religious folks. And I saw Islam, I saw Judaism, I saw Christianity, and it says religion will wipe out millions. And I said, oh, God. So America is in a place that we can't compare our numbers to China and our numbers to some of these other countries, because our environment is different from theirs. And I'm not talking about weather. I'm talking about the climate of its people. In China, the numbers may have went down, even though I believe that their numbers are lying as well, too.
We can't trust them. That's
but
why.
they're not gathering to have worship.
Yeah, it's banned. You can't even do it there. Yeah. So
in Italy, the church is shut down. They're not even having worship. In America, it is still going on. The numbers is going to be astronomical.
Yeah, it's going to be in the millions.
Because America never learned how to manage its freedom.
Okay, now let me make some things clear. So make sure I'm not putting words in your mouth when I explain this, Bishop. So what you're saying is the word of the Lord, what we're gathering from the word of the Lord is that this not deciding to listen to authority and not gather, it's actually, they're going to be pastors that are going to continue to do that, and it's going to rise these radicals, and that's going to invoke the persecution of the church. Now, and that's the revival that you saw. Now, isn't
hold on. Now, no, it's not a revival.
Okay.
It's a spirit that is going to move upon them.
Okay.
Watch this. You know, there was a time in the scripture where God put a lying spirit in the mouth of the prophet.
Yeah. I got
to
you.
prophesy to something. So this is what's going to happen. It's going to be contrary, but it's going to be okay, because it's going to put the true church on their face before God.
This is what I want to talk about right here, because these things must happen that this can happen. And the this for me is a time of impending revival that is connected to reform. That's what I sense. And also in this time, I believe that we're going to see God's hand of provision and prosperity in a way we haven't before. And let me tell you why. You can interpret this dream live while I'm on. Actually, it was a vision, so there ain't but too much interpretation needed, but you always go to an extra level in God. I woke up. What day I tell you, Nancy, I had that vision? This morning. It was about 3 days ago. And I woke up in prayer. I heard them birds seem like they louder than they ever been before. They wake me up every morning. They just hot out the window holler, chirpy, 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 chirpy. I'm like, what in the world is that? What's that mating call that is wearing me? They've been waking me up. So it woke me up early. I said, I was trying to go back to sleep and go away from the noise, and it kept chirping me up out my sleep. And so I went ahead and woke up, and then I just slipped down on the side of the bed and went on my knees, and I just started praying in the spirit, and I slipped right into a vision. Now, this is the vision. This sounds strange, but you're a prophet and you strange. So that's, how to do, you familiar with strange things. So I slipped down on my knees, and I began to pray in the spirit, and immediately I was in an all black suit, jumper, gloves. My whole head was covered. I had a cutout for my eyes, some goggles, and I had a rake in my hand. And I was standing what looked like to be my yard, except it was much bigger. And I was sweeping up rakes. And while I was sweeping up these rakes and getting there everything, I looked and other people was out in the community. And they kept saying, the drone of the Lord, the drone of the Lord. I said, the drone of the Lord, the drone of the Lord. And it's like in an instance, I had everything I was covered up. I looked up, and when I saw a drone, and it's like I became the drone. My sight went into the drone. And so now in the vision, I'm looking with the drone's view. And I see myself sweeping. I see the people everywhere. But in my yard it was light. But everybody else's yard, it looked like there were black big circles all over. And so I looked, and I said, why is all of these places covered in darkness except my yard? But I was sweeping in the yard. I was dressed in all black, and I was sweeping in the yard, totally covered. And then I looked up above that drone and saw other drones around. And then when I looked back down, it's like I had a different vision this time. This time I could see my vision was wider. So there were other homes that were in other areas. It's almost like I was in a plane. And I can see that there was little squares of light in the midst of this black. And so I looked back up to catch another sight to look back down, because I've been having vision and stuff so much, so I sort of learned how to operate in them. So at this moment, I'm looking back up to then look back down to see what was happening in my sight. And at that time, you remember the story we always see of the stork that would drop the bag that was supposed to be a baby? Mm-hmm. I saw all these bags dropping over the houses where the light was, but not where the darkness was. And so when okay, go ahead, and I'm gonna tell you what I got to say after that.
I shouldn't have interrupted you. Go ahead, because what I'm gonna say is gonna take you totally off of off the.
No, go ahead. I want you to go ahead.
Today, Amazon workers started complaining and walking off of jobs. You're getting into the vision that I need to write for Written Judgments 5. I saw the airwaves filled with instruments that were flying. The work floors is getting ready to be so robotic.
AI. That's AI.
That what is getting ready to take place when this plague is over, we're going to be in a new heaven and a new earth. When I say a new heaven and a new earth, it's a new realm of traffic that will be above our heads and a new realm of movement on the earth. In Written Judgments, I began to write about men walking around wearing helmets in the street to protect what is going to be taking place overhead.
Oh, my Lord.
It is going to so radically not only change the way packages are going to be delivered, but it's going to shift the way medical science is going to begin to develop. Mm-hmm. And I got to go somewhere and shut myself in for 1 week and finish Written Judgments Volume 5. So, okay. Larry,
well, I won't say no more then, because I won't say no more because it gives me the clarity. I won't say no more. Wow.
And what is happening in this hour, churches that are not moving in the spirit of the age. When the Bible says in Genesis 3 that God came and walked in the ruach of the day, in the cool of the day, which is the spirit of the day. We are in the spirit of the day of technology. Mm-hmm. Our churches were supposed to be in areas that were supposed to be technology centers and leading the world in technology, mm-hmm. and not pointing back to Stone Age worship. Mm. And so what is happening today, during recessions, during famines, the frauds of industry get exposed while the experts, mm-hmm. will become the start to see is the frauds of our industry. And I am concerned because now we have people that are not prepared for a tomorrow economy, and that we have failed in our mission to edify and build up the church. We only brought people in to take their money, but we've never built their minds. And by not building their minds for the future, they are now chasing a future instead of leading from the
future. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so with all of this, you guys, this is what I'm going to go. It's going to seem like I'm going to let go of the show in the midst of a high note, but I think that's what I'm supposed to do. This is what our critical takeaways are. As it relates to the pastors, Howard Brown and any other pastor that continue bringing people to church, we're going to be praying for you guys. We're going to be praying for our president and everybody that's in authority. But our critical takeaway is Isaiah 26 and 20. This is the time for us as God's people to go into our homes and shut up and get into the center of ourselves, reconnect to God, renew our prayer life, our covenant. This is the first of the year according to our biblications. It is the first of the year. Nisan, Abdib. That's where we are. Yes. And so it's extremely important for us to heed what I'm going to say, this prophet of God. I can't speak for, I mean, there are other prophets, but I like how Bishop Jordan said, I didn't get ahead of this. I didn't do this, but this is the word of the Lord, and this is what God is saying now. So let's just make a global repentance, and let's begin to do what we know that we need to do, because the future of our nation is dependent on the church, the remnant, doing what she is supposed to do. So that's our critical takeaway.
Yes, and listen, President Trump, I never thought I would say this, but every nation gets the leader they deserve, Larry. And President Trump is the best leader to lead us out of this global crisis. I'm going to tell you why.
I can't believe you said that, bitch.
I'd rather follow a man that has fallen and gotten up than a man that has never fallen, because they may have never understood the science of how to recover and get up. Let me go even deeper. I'm trained in martial arts. As a white belt, they teach you how to fall. And from the fall, you learn how to get up. What has happened to us in the church, we never taught the saints how to fall. We taught them how to stand, but we never taught them how to fall. So we may have missed giving them the mystery of iniquity. Those that have fallen and gotten up is a better leader at this time than those that have never fallen. And most of the things that President Trump had gotten into, a lot of those things went into bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And so I don't know why we didn't think that this economy, as much as it was booming, he's heartbroken. Do you think that he wanted to see this economy fall apart? That was the last thing, but he was appointed for such a time as this.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Bishop Bernard Jordan, also known as Master Prophet Jordan, your most trusted name. And that's right, the guy that used to have the dreads on BET all them years wearing us to death. This is your most trusted name in prophecy, Elijah Bernard Jordan, who happens to be my mentor as of 2018. Thank you so much, Bishop, for being on this platform. And if you are watching and you want to hear more from him, I'm going to put this up, screenshot it right now. 24-hour prayer line. Call in. Prayer is happening. Prayer and teaching. And what else? Tell us about that,
Prophecy.
Bishop.
Oh, we're prophesying to people. I'm getting ready to go on the line right now, and I'll be going from now until about 12:30. and we'll be prophesying. The company of prophets is there. They're prophesying in the background. They're calling people, and we're prophesying. We got every 3 hours a new shift of prophets come on, and it's the company of prophets. And these are people that I have been training. Some of them I've been training as long as 30 years. And you can call 515-604-9266 at any time. I'm going to go live. There's some things I got to share with them out of the written judgment. This, Larry, the days are going to come where you're going to be hearing in your own streets, return, go back in your houses. You're not going to be allowed to be in the streets. What I see that's coming, they won't even be able to burn the bodies. Forget burials. They're going to be taking them straight to the crematory. We are in some interesting days right now, and people are going to need platforms like yourself, platform like the prayer. We have some psychologists that are on with us to help people to process the grief. And a lot of people that are listening to me right now is in grief because they have lost, some of them, although they're not going to work, they have lost their family.
Yeah.
Their work family.
Connection.
They lost all kind of connections. Children
the routine.
have lost their classmates.
Yeah.
Right. Lost all the routine. There's a grief that's going on with that. First, there's denial, and this is what has happened to many of the people in the church. I've been having church all my life. I'm not going to stop having church now. They're in denial and don't even know they're in a stage of grief, and they need support. And then after denial comes anger. Put me in prison. We're going to go into church anyway. And then eventually they're going to get a lawyer and start bargaining. But acceptance is the end of all suffering. So get the book at ZoeMinistries.com. You can go there and download the book. And thank you. And we're also keeping the Word Network in prayer. Amen. Because it will need our prayers.
Yeah, I know what my prayer is. Shut it down, Jesus. Shut it down today. Shut it out, Jesus. Shut it down today. That's my prayer. All right,
and
thank you
so
so much.
Will come to pass.
Thank you so much, Bishop. If you have enjoyed Larry Reid Live as a practice we have been doing here, if you come here and enjoy, make sure you put some value on the show. I don't care if it's $3, $5, $4. Go to the website, LarryReidLive.com, click donate, or Cash App right now. $, this is to the nonprofit, MBNNetwork. If you were blessed tonight, I'm going to say let's do $20, $20.20 if you really were blessed tonight. Patreons, thank you so much for supporting this platform every single month with your donation. And I'll see you guys later on this week. Just make sure you got your notifications on. If you want to become a patron and a monthly supporter, you can do that from the site as well. The same site, you click donate, click Patreon. I want you to be sure to make sure you get the app as well because we're still working on it. Download it. Type in Larry Reid Live in your app store. It don't matter whether you got an Apple or Android. You can stay connected. And make sure you text before you sign off. Text Larry Reid Live with no spaces to 33222 so you can get notified when this entertainment, your most favorite entertainment, digital, hold on a minute, news and talk show comes on every Monday night at 7 o'clock right here on Facebook, YouTube, and Paradigm Scope. All right, I'm going to let you guys go, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.